Hello, everyone. I'm Valora Washington, CEO of the CAYL Institute. That's Community Advocates for Young Learners. And I'm happy to tell you today that for the first time, we're trying an experiment to have interpretation in the Spanish language in this webinar. So our colleague, Yessika, is going to tell you how to choose Spanish if you're interested in doing that. Yessika?
Hello, everybody. Welcome. Buenas tardes a todas. Bienvenidas a este evento.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to this event. I want to ask you to please select the interpretation button at the bottom of the right-hand corner of your screen if you need interpretation.
So it is my honor to welcome you today to this CAYL Catalyst webinar series. And our goal is to really bring you timely and relevant, immediately actionable information about young children and families and the people who work with children and families. So we are the CAYL Institute. That stands for Community Advocates for Young Learners. And we were established in 2003 to create policy change and build the capacity of people in our field to create and influence this change. So today we're going to hear from some experts and practitioners talking with us about family child care. Our CAYL webinar series is something that we offer to the field as both an invitation and a challenge. We issue this invitation and challenge because it is really important to understand how we must challenge the situations that we're finding ourselves in, how we must understand the importance of thinking critically and simultaneously about our present situation, but also about our field's future. And now is the time that we have to engage with each other and nurture our collective thinking about the quality of life for our children and our families, as well as our practitioners. So thinking about early childhood as a field of practice, we've long advocated the need for a mixed delivery system. That is our point of view. And a critical part of the mixed delivery system is family child care. Large numbers of families choose family child care. I certainly chose family child care for my own son. People like the cultural and linguistic continuity that family child care offers, and they like the small home atmosphere. But family child care is challenged, as are all parts of our profession right now. But today we want to take a special look at family child care, the challenges and opportunities that are in front of us right now. And we invite you to meet our exciting October panel. We have with us Mary Beth Salomone Testa, who's the director of her own consulting firm. We have as a panelist, Lanette Dumas, who's the executive director of the National Family Child Care Association. And we have with us Yessika Magdaleno, who is the founder and CEO of Child Care Business Institute, and she is quite the organizer of family child care providers. So this expert panel has a lot to teach us and a lot to share with us as we move forward with family child care and our mixed delivery system. And we're going to be asking today about what priorities should we be striving for with family child care, and how do we lead the way to a more sustainable family child care? So at the end of this webinar, I really am inviting you all to click a link to join us in conversation. This webinar is brief. It's only an hour, but we invite your questions and reflections about the presentation. So in response to popular demand, at the end of the webinar, you are going to have an option to stay online and join the conversation with our panelists to ask questions or to offer your opinion about what you think we should be doing next. So please join us. A link will be in the chat function as we're moving forward. So let's think together about family child care. So the entire field of early childhood education is facing so much pressure right now. We all know that. No sector feels this more sharply than family childcare. Family childcare is one of many childcare options and early childhood education options that are out there. And perhaps it is the least understood of all the options. So let's demystify family childcare. We know on this webinar, there are many hundreds of you and different levels of knowledge about family childcare. So just let me say straight up front that family childcare program is a form of early childhood education in which a caregiver looks after children in their own home, sometimes with the help of an assistant. A program in family childcare is typically licensed for 6 to 12 children, although the numbers do vary by state and by the type of license. But because these are small programs, intimate home-like environments, you will see many opportunities for one-to-one interaction between the educator and the child. You'll see mixed age groups and the opportunity for continuity of care because a child is staying with that provider over a long period of time. Family child care is especially popular for certain communities, especially communities who have infants and toddlers, people living in rural areas, and again, people with cultural and linguistic needs. Every state has its own definition of when a program needs to be licensed and when a program can offer its license exempt. But I want to tell you 6 clear benefits about family childcare. So first of all, family childcare has a low staff ratio, a low staff turnover, because people who choose this path of supporting children in their own home, they have a lower turnover rate, and this creates a stable environment for children. A second thing is people like it as a benefit because of the more personalized care due to the low ratio of staff to children. These programs typically have smaller group size and children can reap the social emotional benefits of engaging with other children. And that's because the third benefit is that there are mixed age groups oftentimes. And so a really clear benefit is that this family childcare home may have infants, it may have children up to school age. So children are integrating with many other children of different groups. Many times people find family childcare to be more affordable. And a fifth benefit is that the flexibility of family childcare. Often family childcare providers offer flexibility to parents who have non-standard work hours or variable work schedules and so forth. And the final benefit that I want to mention is that it really creates a home away from home environment, as I've mentioned before. It's often neighborhood-based, although you can find family childcare in many kind of settings, and it really can allow siblings to be cared for together. So every day there are millions of children cared for in family childcare. In fact, out of the 11 million children who, at least before COVID, were in some type of care, about 40% were spending more time in family childcare than in any other setting. And so you can see it's a critical part of our childcare, early childhood education system. There's approximately 1 million people providing this service, educators who are providing this service in their homes, and about 3 million children pre-COVID were spending time in family childcare. So there is a lot of research on family childcare, although we need much more. But some of the predictors of high quality could be the licensing status, the kind of professional support that family childcare providers can receive, and obviously the kind of experience that these providers have. But there are so many challenges that existed before COVID and that have only become worse since COVID. And often these challenges have to do with the lack of structural support and the lack of respect. So let's listen today to our panel as they can really bring us up to date about what's happening with family childcare and what we all can do to change the game for family childcare. So we're going to be asking questions like, what's the future of family childcare as small businesses, as part of our mixed delivery system and their impact? We're going to be asking questions about their assets and strengths and what families are really looking for today and how we can enhance the professionalism in family child care. And here are the experts that are going to be working with us today. We're going to have Beth Salomone Testa, who is the director of her MBST Solutions consulting firm. We have Lanette Dumas, who is the executive director of the National Association of Family Child Care. And we have, as a practitioner and an organizer, Yessika Magdaleno, who is also going to share her experiences. So let's get started. Let's talk, the four of us. So interested in hearing from each of you about what we have to talk about, what we can learn, what we can experience from you. So at this point, I'm going to turn the microphone over to Beth. Beth, how do we change the game for family child care? Welcome.
Thank you so much, Valora. Everyone, thanks for being here. And gosh, what a joy and an honor it is to be here with Lanette and Yessika, and I can't wait to hear from you both. I'll talk for just a minute and make lots of space for them and for your ideas and questions too. So my name is Beth, and I'm a consultant. And in all of my work, I have the joy of getting to work with you to connect policy and practice. People are making decisions. People are making decisions about somebody who has to live with that decision. And wouldn't it be a whole lot better if we were on the same team talking about those things? And every single day I learn from family child care educators. I'm excited to see so many familiar names on the participant list of this webinar. Thank you all for taking the time, family child care educators especially, but I also see food program friends and child care resource and referral friends and lots of people that I hope our journeys cross paths soon. So thanks for being here. Family child care providers, you're changing the game, and the rest of us are here trying to help make space for that. I believe that when we put you first as family child care educators, when we put you first, when we ask that of ourselves and each other to say, what does she need? Well, we find that out when we ask her. What do they need? Well, we find that out when we ask you, when we walk together, not walking instead of you, but when we walk together. So whether we're working with federal or state agency friends or foundations or advocates or anyone thinking about the systems ideas, they come to us and they say, well, what does family child care want? And we get to say, you should ask them, let me help. Let us help each other so that it's the family child care educators driving this. And I believe that you have changed the game already in the way decision makers are listening now. I believe we have many new listeners, and I believe that we have people listening in a different way, being willing to understand that what they decide at their desk over here has to work out here, wherever you are, everywhere you are. And so much of what you do, moving through your practice, moving through your business, moving through your day and your night, and all of it, so much of that tracks back to somebody's policy decision at a desk, whether they were right down the street from you or quite far away or somewhere in between. We have new listeners, and you've already changed the game in this idea that care and learning are not different. We very quickly jumped over the hurdle of some big moments, even just this year, about this false notion that childcare and early learning might be two different things that happen in two different places. You said, no, that's not so. You said, it's happening in the same place. It's happening right in front of me. And it's been happening for years. And you were heard because we have listeners. They are hearing you. And so every time you answer that call to make a call, every time you answer that survey, and boy, there have been more than a few, every time you stand up and say, this is what is so, this is what is true, you're changing the game for family child care. And I think the most powerful thing that the rest of us can do, friends on this call who are not family child care educators, but have other roles, the thing we can do is value family child care educators as peers and as experts in any room they're in. Because everyone is an expert in their own life. Everybody brings something to this work. And so when we value each other as peers, we can really get some big stuff done. And I think that's a big shift that many of us care very much about making happen, insisting on for each other and for you. So at the federal level, if I may, and what I'm going to say, I understand this is being recorded. So folks, this is October 7th. So what I'm going to share is true today, but things are changing very quickly. I highly encourage you to stay in touch with CAYL and NAFCC and other national partners because things are moving very fast. So there's new news yet today, but here's what's happening. There are some majorly large pieces of legislation in play. And one of them you will have seen in the news as the infrastructure bill. Bridges, water, good things that are important. Childcare is not in that bill. Is childcare infrastructure? Of course it is. But they didn't mean that way. Okay, so set that aside. They are arguing about when and whether and how big to do that. There's this other piece of legislation, and people throw around this outrageous word called reconciliation. It's another whole meeting about what that means. Suffice it to say, this is where the big stuff for children and for families, including everyone on this call who has a family, is a family, serves families, this is where we are. And there are basically three buckets of that work. There's the Congress, go big for children and families, big. But the second bucket is full of people who think that this is too big. So we're saying go big for childcare. And then the third bucket is do right on the details, because the details matter. The details matter for family childcare. We make and break on these details, and family childcare has been hosed for decades in people's big ideas that weren't big enough. Big. We're going big. We're going big for childcare, and we're doing right on the details. Now, we and Lanette will talk some more about maybe what we can do soon. Now, after you hang up from this webinar, even go big. Congress needs to go big. If we've learned nothing from the last year and a half, and again, new listeners, right? Because maybe they haven't learned what we needed them to learn 20 years ago and more. Go big. It is time. We need a whole better way forward. And if we're designing that right, family child care educators, it's something you would want to be a part of because you helped build it. That's where we're trying to exist in all of these buckets of work. Okay, so next time you get an action alert, it's time to make that call. It really is time now that Congress cannot give up on this. Okay, so I mentioned there was new news today. In this go big for children and families, there are many important ideas. And somebody had an idea today that maybe we should just pick and choose. No, because this stuff is interconnected. Families don't come in pieces. Children don't come in pieces. Your program doesn't either. Your family doesn't either. And so there's this idea now that we need to stand together, childcare, paid leave, and the child tax credit. We will not be told to pick. We will not let our members of Congress say that it's okay to pick. It's too late. No more picking. All together, go big. So that's the big news as of today, is big. Okay, go big and include childcare and do right on the details. And we will not stand by and be left out or cut out anymore. Lanette, Dumas, my friend, will you take it from here and talk some more about what you see from where you are?
Most definitely. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity to be here from the CAYL Institute. Thank you for my colleague and partner in all of this work, Mary Beth Testa, and all of you for taking the time out of your day today to be with us. As stated before, I'm Lanette Dumas. I'm the Executive Director for the National Association for Family Childcare. We are the professional association for home-based early educators and the accrediting body for the home-based setting. I like to think that our work is bridging national policy to where the rubber meets the roads in states and in municipalities where you're doing work, whether it's the work of being a practitioner, the work of CCR&R supporter, whatever your role is in the early childhood fabric, we're trying to bridge that. So right now, we have really centered the voice of the family child care educator. And before at the end of last year, before we thought about what our priorities are in the midst of the pandemic, before reconciliation, before infrastructure, we set out and had a series of listening tours, because it's important for us to hear from the lived experience to actually shape what we're doing based on what we're hearing from the field. And so through those listening sessions, we were able to shape our national policy agenda, and it helped to inform the supports that we would have to give to the folks who are on the ground, who are making those calls that Mary Beth talked about, or writing the letter to the editor, or sending an email to a legislator, both federal and in the states, because that's where the details happen, right? We're in this space where there's this huge historic investment. I mean, if we keep pressing and we get what we need, it's like 30 times more than any investment we've ever had. It's an opportunity to think about this in such a different way, not where we pick and choose this thing, pick and choose. It's like we're pitting against one another. It's child care against family child care, against preschool, against all of these things. No, we need a wide door that everyone moves together. It's a system, and the system needs all the pieces. As Dr. Washington mentioned earlier, families make choices. Families have different needs depending on their circumstances, where they live, where they work, how old their children are. And so it's important that when we build a system, and we build a system bigger and better, that we're thinking about a system that moms and families and practitioners and program providers want to be a part of. So 3 big things have come out of what we're asking for based on what we're hearing, and also what we're responding to as far as what potentially is in the upcoming legislation. And that is, we're talking about mixed delivery of pre-K or universal childcare and that kind of stuff. So we're asking, demanding that this is an inclusive space, which all the language is showing that right now, that very specifically family childcare is being included. So we're very thankful, and it's being included because of you. Just as Mary Beth said, it's being included because you keep calling, you keep talking, you keep standing up and showing the value of this setting, showing your worth, especially in the pandemic. Who could deny the role that you play, the workforce behind the workforce? Like, can you imagine someone trying to do surgery with their baby on their side because they don't have childcare? No, they have to have childcare, and family childcare comes to the rescue every time. So we want to make sure that we're included in the system, but included in a meaningful way, not as an afterthought, that we're included in a way that says, this is a worthy setting. This is a space where children are learning. This is a space where children are cared for. And so we have bridges and on-ramps that help people to be able to participate in whatever this new system that includes a mixed delivery with family childcare, that there are funded on-ramps to help people be prepared to be a part of the system, and that those pathways are right fit for the setting. We have to make sure that regulations, basic regulations and licensing and quality systems actually measure what is important for the development of children, parental choice, and the programs, the small businesses themselves. So we can't, when you're making a cake, you don't measure your milk with a dry measuring cup. It's going to mess up your recipe. So we have to make sure that these regulations and quality standards meet the home-based setting. Also, we have to make sure that when this huge influx of funding comes in, I mean, it's going to be huge. It's going to be something that you really want to be a part of because we're going to demand it, that trusted community-based intermediaries are used. It has to be trusted people. We're talking about money. So the family childcare practitioner has to, not the state regulator, but the family childcare programs have to trust. The families have to trust, or they're not going to be a part of it. And we know that these systems and subsidies and programs help folks if they can have access to it and if they can find the care that they need, but they also have to be a part of it. And we haven't done the best job, and we're going to work on how we're inclusive. And I think I'm excited because Yessika is going to talk about how folks can be included and sit in the space as the experts at the table. So I can't wait for Yessika to start. And then the other place, also when we're building this system, we want to make sure that we're looking at a mixed age model, because we don't want to displace infants and toddlers in the name of only serving pre-K, because that's where the dollars are. That's where it'll be a better business model for us. Speaking of business model, true cost of quality care. How are people paid dignified wages with benefits, health insurance, which includes mental health benefits, retirement, paid leave? All of these things are important parts of honoring the session and this sector, and actually building supply, because you make it something that people want to be a part of. And the most important piece is authentic engagement of family child care voices. And I'm very, very pleased and proud of the work at NAFCC, where we're co-chairing a national panel for the Office of Child Care through the Quality Center that has actually come up with some guiding principles on authentic engagement of family child care, which is going to be released next week. And so I'm super excited about that. Stay tuned. Also excited about how we are lifting up our state representatives so that we're hearing from the folks on the ground, and that we can be responsive to what's happening in your local community. So if you don't have a state rep, you should be a state rep. We have an election coming up and you want to be a part of that. And then the next thing that I'm super proud of is our Leaders Shaping Leaders program, which situates right now 30 family child care educators with the toolkits that they need. And when I say toolkit, I don't mean an actual toolkit. I mean a year-long journey that braids together advocacy, civics, public policy, and budgets, financial viability, and association building. All of those pieces that help folks to bring together their voice and their strength, and the power of coming together as a collective. Folks are being situated to sit at those decision-making tables and feeling comfortable and powerful in the space that they are the experts in, and to be treated as peers in those spaces and not tolerated. So I think right now it would be great if I could toss it to Yessika to hear what she's thinking and doing in California, because I know it's some really powerful work.
Thank you, Lanette. Welcome, everybody. I'm Yessika Magdaleno. I'm a family childcare provider in California. I've been doing this for 21 years. And, well, I'm just gonna tell you that what Mary said about the federal level is very important that we all get engaged on that. And I'm gonna tell you in a minute why it's important. Also, I wanna also say that Lanette brings us a three things, right? She said we need to build a system. And she's right. She's right. We need to build a new system. We don't only have issues in California, but we have issues in every state of the United States. Family childcare providers often take care of special care to invest in their homes. We all do that. We invest in our properties, in our communities, as it is essential to the success of our businesses, right? We also, family childcare providers, often act as the neighbor watch as we are at home during the day, taking care of the children at our homes. Family childcare providers' businesses allow to earn the wages necessary to stable the tenants or the homeowners, right? We provide a valuable service to the neighborhood and supporting children, families, and the economy. We are a very strong group of women doing this job. Not only women, but men as well. I have known several. I also wanted to talk about, to include in everything that Mary and Lanette talk about, that we all have to start thinking on how we're going to tell the Congress that we need to be included in these bills that are coming up. Mary said there is a reconciliation bill coming up. It is very important that we all get familiar of what's going on the political level. Why? Because at the political level, they're gonna start making decisions for childcare. And we wanna be included in these actions that they're gonna be making. Right now, the Congress is not moving because two people of the Congress are not signing these bills. It is important that we take an action. In each one of our states, we need to call them and we need to tell them how important is the job that we do in our states, in our local cities. It is very, very, very important. We want them to have this money for childcare, right? We want them to dedicate funding for the purpose of renovations. It is very important that our infrastructure it's there for the children. It is very important what Mary and Lanette just mentioned right now. We need all of us together work. Send the message. Tell them the importance of invest in family childcare. To sign the bill. The bill is 3.5 million. They don't want to sign that. They wanted to sign that for less. But if they sign it for